All right, we got a lot to talk about today, Mir. The Game Awards just concluded. Did you enjoy it?
It was interesting. There were some complaints here and there about the event, but it was alright.
No huge upsets this year, but the most thing I was excited about was Street Fighter 6 winning Fighting Game of the Year. And that gives me a good opportunity for us to talk about kind of the retrospect up to this point with Street Fighter 6. I know it's funny saying retrospect because, the game is like only 6 months in now. But I kind of want to talk about the award itself and talk about what has worked and what hasn't worked with the game thus far, because Street Fighter 6 was like, really setting the bar and breaking new ground with its launch content. And I kind of want to just like talk about all that stuff all in one kind of big discussion. So yeah, man, Street Fighter 6 wins Fighting Game of the Year. I was a little nervous because Mortal Kombat 1 was up there and Mortal Kombat usually wins, but there's some huge upsets too. Even Zelda got dethroned. So this is a big one because with Street Fighter 6, with the World Tour and the Battle Hub, and the giant CPT and the accessibility of modern controls and the rank system, at least the rank system now, I think they just really went above and beyond this time, and it's just really well-deserved award. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. One thing that is worth mentioning about this award is that it was one of the throwaway awards, if you want to call them that, in the sense that they just talked about it for those 20 seconds and then moved on to the next thing, and it left the devs, really happy, but they didn't really get, any time to say anything about it. Well, not that they would have enough time, unless you were Kojima, of course. But anyway, I think it's still a good recognition though, because earlier this year, Mortal Kombat 1 got the Golden Joystick Award.
Oh, dude.
As opposed to Street Fighter 6, and that was already kind of like a little bit of a red flag. Some people were already wondering whether or not Mortal Kombat 1 was also gonna win the Fighting of the Year.
That's what
award.
I was nervous about, dude. That's what I was nervous about.
But I agree with you in the sense that Street Fighter 6 as a package as a game is just very good. It's not just about the mechanics and how balanced it is, the competitive side of things, because that's obviously not what wins awards. It's about the entire package as a game. And absolutely, if you're someone that doesn't play fighting games, you still get a lot of enjoyment out of Street Fighter 6. They did a great job.
Yeah, and as a game too, like not even a fighting game here. Like what you get, the amount of content, the offline content and the online content, the whole package is like, it's really crazy, especially if we look back to Street Fighter 5, because that's what it's all about. Capcom trying to make amends for what Street Fighter 5 was at launch. And just fast forward to now, it's so nice. It really just set the bar. And we even see even Tekken have those like online lobbies and stuff, and you're kind of like, did they copy Street Fighter there with those avatars? Like, did they put that in the last second? You never know, right?
For sure. Like, we saw that in other genres of video games, right? A great example was for Battle Royales when Apex Legends came out and it rocked the world. That all the other Battle Royales copied some of its features, and it goes, like back and forth like this. So between fighting games, I think, honestly, we could get a lot of features from other fighting games and, put it in a new one, and it just improve the genre overall, right? Like a great one would be that Guilty Gear combo trial thing feature. It's not combo trial, but, like you can share combos online. If Street Fighter 6 had that, it'd be just a better game.
I know, dude.
I condone that level of plagiarism because it just makes for a better product at the end, right?
Dude, that's hype, man. That's hype. Dude, the director Nakayama was there too at the awards. He didn't get to go up and like accept the awards, like you said. It was kind of like the side awards thing, but at least he like flew down there. I want to go back to the Golden Joystick Award you were talking about, where if you guys don't know, there was like another award before the Game Awards with the Golden Joysticks, and Mortal Kombat 1 won best multiplayer game. And I know this is going to sound like I'm talking a lot of smack to Mortal Kombat 1, but Mortal Kombat 1 had no business winning the multiplayer game of the year. I'm just going to straight up say it, Mir. It had no business, dude. That game launched without even crossplay. That in itself already should not have won to Street Fighter 6. And I was really nervous about it because I was like, man, it's kind of a slap in the face because I never expected Street Fighter 6's launch to be that big. Of course I wanted it to be big, but when we first saw the trailer and we saw the third person view in World Tour, I was like, having a panic attack. I was like, what is happening? What happened to Street Fighter? Is this the game now? You know what I mean? but they were just showing one aspect of the game, like the offline part of it. And Mortal Kombat 1, even the netcode, I wouldn't say is on par, but I'm playing on the PC version. It might be different from the console. You couldn't disable the microphone mirror, which my chat personally liked, but it was pretty rough for me. And you couldn't decline matches unless the ping was like 200 over you or something like that. You couldn't filter out the regions or anything. They didn't have public online lobbies. You can't search for matches in training mode. You couldn't block players. There was no social hub like Battle Hub or anything like that. No clubs. There is just so many things missing that even Mortal Kombat 11 had. And for Mortal Kombat to win multiplayer game of the year, it was just so eye rolling to me. It made me like angry. I know it sounds silly because it's like, what do you care? You know, these awards they're rigged. You know, you shouldn't care about this stuff. But I think for the business, for like Capcom, for the director Nakayama and the producer Matsumoto, for them to lose that award, it kind of like all that extra work you did was for nothing. Like in the industry, you know, like you just can't beat Mortal Kombat. It's just too popular. It's too big, you know. And it just I don't know. It made me salty. I know you didn't care, Mir, but I don't know. It bugged me, man.
It's worth remembering that a lot of these media outlets that we're exposed to, including Game Awards, are Western focused, right? So like they naturally tend more towards games made by Western companies, and Mortal Kombat has always been the fighting game that is made in the West, right? Because everything else is made in Japan, pretty much.
Elden Ring made everyone really salty then.
But no, like in general, the best multiplayer game thing about the Golden Joystick, if you think about it, for the Game Awards, it's not like Street Fighter won that either, right? Because Baldur's Gate 3 snatched the title.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for Game Awards,
at least we got fighting game, if anything. and if you look at the list of the fighting games that were presented, there were also like, I don't know, questionable choices.
Come on,
but
man, Nickelodeon was there, but like really though, like Mortal Kombat 1 was huge though, is huge. Sorry, and it really came down to Mortal Kombat 1 and Street Fighter 6. And like I said, I was just nervous because of the Golden Joystick Award, right? Because it's just really really popular. But I know, like I said, once again, people are listening to this, they're gonna be like, why do you guys care so much about these awards? They mean nothing. Like, you get nothing from it. But I do think it's important, guys. Like, for Nakayama, when he said he pitched to Capcom, right, at HQ, and he had the whole idea of Street Fighter 6 being 3 games in one, and he wrote it all out months and months ahead before development started, right, when we're down to, like, the 5th year of Street Fighter 5. Like, it was a big, ambitious goal, right? And this was when Ono was leaving. So, if all of this work and if they would have ended up just not winning this award and still having the right projected sales as if they never went through all this extra effort, I think like the suits, I'm talking like the Capcom suits upstairs, they would have been like, this is not worth it, the extra money and development and time to do it, because you know what I mean? That's what it means. So like what I'm trying to say is this is kind of like something that the director Nakayama and Matsumoto, the producer, can put on their resume, so to speak. They'll be like, look, see, this is paying off. We're getting the recognition, and it's a big like advertising thing too, Mir. Like everyone's seeing that, hey, if I'm gonna get a fighting game, Street Fighter 6 won the fighting game of the year. This must be really good. What's this about? It's a big deal, man. There's millions of people watching this stuff, right?
It's interesting to see that, because another reason it won fighting game of the year, despite all of the comments that we've had about, the drip feed of content and how as more like competitive minded folks that follow the game weren't really approving of how certain content was being rolled out. But if you look at the entire package, right, especially in the grand scheme of things for the industry, it technically did always have content coming out, right? Like the battle passes, the avatar battle stuff, costumes, collaborations, some pretty important collaborations too, like popular stuff, right? TMNT, and now they're getting
and the theme
family. I forget what it's called, the X family, whatever. In next year,
the Spy,
which is,
Spy X family,
which is big. There's also, I mean, the costumes have come out, so technically those did come out.
They technically did, Mir. They did.
It's definitely the entire package that you look at as someone that's not necessarily someone that even plays Street Fighter 6, but you can tell that there's a lot that goes on in this game, right? Like you could pitch it to someone that doesn't have the game or doesn't know anything about it,
Yeah,
and still, be able to sell a $60 package that has a lot of additional content if they want to. And
absolutely.
I think that played a lot into the final verdict, especially because Mortal Kombat 1 got its fair share of you know, controversy with the whole fatality thing.
Yeah. They're
The
not
uh,
invincible. That's the big thing. They were not invincible. It's just like I don't know. I just think it's a huge thing for Street Fighter 6 to win this, just because the Mortal Kombat sales have always been superior, right? So it's just really nice to see some recognition
mhm.
for it, especially from the bounce back of Street Fighter 5. And you're right, Mir. We are kind of looking at this from a weird lens because we play Street Fighter like pretty much every single day. So we're gonna look at it differently than the casual gamer does. And with all this being said, Mir, things aren't perfect with Street Fighter 6, which, we'll obviously get into in a bit here. But for the most part, like I said, just the extra effort of the world tour, the battle hub, the all this money being put into the CPT, even with Mortal Kombat, they're not even putting close to enough money in to keep that esports side strong. We're putting $2 million in CPT, right? And plus the accessibility and how the rank system is handled. All that is just amazing from every single angle. And there was another award too, Mir. There was I was kind of salty about them losing, was the accessibility award. What do you think about
Mm.
that?
Well, that's very difficult. I thought about it before, but as a person that doesn't have any disability myself, I mean, I don't have the best eyesight, but it's hardly a disability at this point. Like for me, anyway, it's kind of hard to judge what consists of like a good suite of accessibility settings, right? I can look at the settings and see that there's all those sounds for when someone is close to you and far away, right? Like you can tell even the control schemes, the fact that there's also dynamic controls for someone that might not be able to play normally could be a very big advantage and stuff. But I also feel fairly ignorant of what Forza actually did in
Yeah,
their
I have to
game.
admit I am too. I just in my head though, I just think fighting game versus racing game. And fighting games are already inaccessible enough as it is, even if you have no disabilities. And I really feel like the Street Fighter team went above and beyond on the accessibility side as well. So I feel like they kind of got a little bit robbed on it, but I once again I will say I am ignorant on Forza. I did have one friend that mentioned that the Forza accessibility options were really good, but I feel like just for fighting games that award would have been a really nice cherry on the top, for the awards for them to win. Best multiplayer
Yeah,
game,
we'll
like you
have
said,
to
that would have
hear.
been a stretch because of
Yeah,
Baldur's
for
Gate.
sure. We'll have to hear from people in maybe our comment section if they know more about it, what they have to say.
Hmm.
Because again, it's very difficult to judge when you don't actually use those features. Like you look at them, but how well are they implemented?
Yeah.
How useful actually are they actually? That's the real question. I mean, it would have been nice to get more awards, of course, but
Oh hell yeah,
then
of
again,
course, of course. I
then
just
again,
like I
it's
said,
just
like
hard to judge.
I just want all this extra effort to be awarded in some shape or form from the developer's point of view. And like I said, Capcom took a huge risk with its modern controls because it's literally integrated into the ranked system and it's integrated into the CPT tournament circuit.
Mhm,
And for the modern controls to not really affect anything,
mhm.
is
Yeah.
just really, really
Oh,
amazing. Like it didn't
I
really affect the balance of the game.
I have an extra point to make
Oh
here,
yeah.
and I guess it ties in with another Game Awards controversy. I guess that's not even a
Oh
controversy,
no.
but you know how Spider-Man got nominated 7 times and won nothing.
Yeah.
The fact that Street Fighter got nominated for accessibility is very much related in the sense that a game like Spider-Man or a game like Street Fighter, the fact that you got nominated for something but didn't win doesn't mean that you did a bad job at that specific, like award, right? The fact that you got nominated in the first place means that you got selected, like 5 games got selected over, every other game
True.
to be challengers to the title.
Yeah.
And the fact that you didn't win means there's another game that did it better than you, but it still is an award, quote unquote, on its own, in the sense that they're recognizing the fact that your game still put a lot of effort in that category, right? So like the fact that Street Fighter got nominated for accessibility still tells you that they've obviously put a lot of effort in that category.
Yeah, that's true. But the win, like I said, the win, man.
I mean,
Street Fighter,
of course, right? Like
the
that's
win,
what people
bro.
look at. But still, you can look at it in many different ways. It's multifaceted, right? If you just look at wins, then you kind of like missing out on the grander scale.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, I know these teams are huge for all these games. It's just like obviously I'm biased, and I just wanted to really make sure that Street Fighter 6 won that fighting game of the year, because I feel like that it's going to affect the future of the game as well in terms of content and the way Capcom dishes out that content, because Street Fighter 6 is still very popular. It's popping off still, especially in Japan. It's massive in Japan. And for them to win this award on top of that and just kind of add that to the resume that, hey, look, it's like a pat on the back. Like, look, you're doing the right thing. You're getting the recognition. You can show the suits upstairs. It just helps. It helps gain some trust within the business and be like, hey, if Nakayama and Matsuda want to try something bold in the future for whatever the projects they're working on, at least they have something to back it up. They're like, look, we proved this before, we can prove it again. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I'm looking for it from a business point of view. Obviously, I don't work at Capcom. I don't really know what's going down, but I do know that there are a lot of hoops you need to jump through to get things done. Like Ono trying to get Darkstalkers greenlit, for example. He's been trying to do it for years. So it's not the easiest thing where you can just snap your fingers and everyone just trusts you. You know what I'm saying? Street Fighter's got a lot of work to do.
The fact that the game won these awards, even though there were some comments around about how it might not have been perfect, it still means that they obviously did a great job, and like you said, it's a good thing that you can use to pitch this game to someone else, not just your superiors at Capcom, but even for more collaborations in the future, or like for example, bundles and sales in big retailers and stuff. It's like, game of the year kind of like bundle with Street Fighter 6 Street Fighting Game of the Year sort of thing. It's important on the business side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And for the players it doesn't really matter. I guess it's a little bit of publicity. You can tell your friends, it's like, hey, this game won Game of the Year, Fighting Game of the Year. Why don't you buy it? It must mean something, but it's very minor in that sense.
A lot of people come to my chat and ask, like, hey, I want to get into fighting games, or I have never played Street Fighter before. Should I pick up Street Fighter 6? And obviously I'm biased once again, but I can really confidently highly recommend Street Fighter 6 to get into, because it doesn't really matter what skill level you are. Like, it's the most accessible it's ever been. And it's just a really healthy game to get into, that you don't have to worry about dying in 4 or 3 months. Yeah.
You also don't have to play it competitively. If you want to just play World Tour and have fun, or play Avatar Battle, to get accustomed to how the game feels, this is all something that is possible. The game doesn't force you to play online.
Yeah.
It doesn't force you to do like 2 things. Like Street Fighter 5, right? Street Fighter 5 was the exact opposite. Like, you play this game that is basically an early access version when it came out.
Yeah.
It had ranked, kinda had lobbies, not really. And then survival mode, which was implemented poorly, to say the least.
Yeah, no story mode, no arcade mode.
Yeah, no, that was
2-man lobbies.
The entire life of Street Fighter 5. Maybe not the entire life, but definitely the first 2 years, it was like the game was on life support. They were trying to keep it alive, right? It was got tubes and stuff sticking out of it.
But they were just I have to say though, like, Capcom did keep the game alive though. CPT did, and they kept releasing content for it. They didn't give up, and that was like an important thing, which once again we're gonna get into with Street Fighter 6 on how they handle their post-game content.
Right.
But I know when you guys like look on Twitch or you look on YouTube, Street Fighter 6 is always like this super sweaty game, trying to get legend rank, legend this, and you're looking at it, you're like, wow, this looks sweaty. And it can be sweaty. It really can, but that's just one small part of Street Fighter 6. There are still a lot of players just chilling, playing avatar battles, or chilling in World Tour, or just playing with their friends. And now they added the intermediate and beginner lobbies. It's very, very beginner friendly and accessible. And You do not have to deal with that stuff that you see on Twitch and YouTube. It's just a very small part. I want to make sure everyone really knows how much Capcom went above and beyond this time to get everyone into fighting games. Even if you're just a spectator and you're worried of playing the game yourself, go for it, man. And there's even a demo for it on Steam still. You can get it for free and check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. You can draw this comparison with a lot of different genres of games, right? Like all the most successful games are the ones that have a way of keeping you entertained without even having to engage with the main mode that the game offers, right? I think Fortnite is a great example. Counter-Strike used to be that way. Now they're kind of like Counter-Strike 2 is not quite that like that, but it's like, you go and look at Twitch streams of Counter-Strike. It's always some tournament somewhere. But then you can go and play the game and, a bunch of people just surfed around on surf maps. They didn't even actually play the game. But they were still around, they helped contribute to the game in one way or another.
That's when you need those trials, user maps, man. Seeing custom trials, man. That's the key.
Yeah,
that's the ticket.
absolutely. I mean, that's kind of like where I was getting at with Street Fighter 6. I hope that in the future they add more kind of like parallel game modes that are not just ranked, because I think they kind of figured out the ranking system quite well already, as you mentioned before. The whole master rate thing makes the more competitive people happy, and the way the ranked mode is handled keeps the more casual players happy. So the more features you add on, not on top of that, but parallel to this, it just helps people that might not be as invested stick with the game, because there's always something new to play, right? It's like, oh, I'm gonna go play this mode and then this other mode and this other mode. Right. And by the time you're done, you go back to the original mode that you haven't played in a while.
Dude, I'm watching my nephew play like that Lego Minecraft and Fortnite, and the racing game. He just switches it from it. I'm just like, dude. I know Street Fighter 6 is not a free to play game, but I was like, dude, like this is wild, man. This is crazy. Okay. Let's talk a little bit more about the Grim stuff here, Amir, because another thing that happened recently besides the Game Awards is the whole costume controversy. I did a little rant video on it, but I kind of want to hear your thoughts on the whole situation. So you have the floor.
Well, I think everyone's complaint with the whole costume situation or outfit situation, or whatever you want to call it, is the fact that there is no bundle. I think that is the biggest number one thing. The second thing is the way they handled the fighter coins, where you have to buy more than you need.
Yeah.
Which is to get to the next step.
It's like about $12 American.
Yeah. So like you can't just buy the costumes like you could with Street Fighter 5, right? Street Fighter 5, you could just buy them through the Steam store, or rather, you could just add your currency.
Yeah, just to clarify, Amir, I'll just add in just so in case no one knows. Yeah. The costumes themselves cost 300 fighter coins each, and you can buy the fighter coins in increments of 250 or 600, I believe it was, and it equates to, or it's like 625 or something. You get some kind of bonus, right? 610. Right, thanks for it.
Oh, 610. Sorry,
610. My bad. And it comes up to like so you want to buy the costume straight up for $6 American, but then it turns out you have to spend at least $12 if you want to get the amount, because buying 250 is not enough, obviously, right? So it was just kind of that really kind of sneaky old school, 8 hot dogs and 12 hot dog buns tactic that it was just kind of scummy, dude.
Shady. Like this is shady, a technique that has been used for a long time, and I'm surprised that it hasn't.
It's desperate too, Amir. It's desperate, man. Like why? You know what I mean? The game's doing so well. Why do that kind of stuff and just get bad?
This is one of the issues with Capcom as a company, is that they had the moment where okay, so let me rephrase this sentence. They used to be very infamous for having very bad DLC practices. Like DLCs everywhere, very expensive and stuff. And then for a while, Capcom kind of like didn't quite go under, but they weren't doing so hot, right?
Right.
So they had to be more customer friendly, right? Like gain back some of that goodwill. Yeah. And now Capcom's been doing well for several years now, because the second year when they were doing very well, Monster Hunter World and stuff, they were still like riding this high of being more customer friendly again. But now I think they're set. They know that they have the opportunity to be a little bit more predatory with these sort of things, and they are doing it. The Street
Right.
Fighter 6, like the TMNT costumes are really, really expensive, for example.
Yeah.
What was it, 20 each?
So $15 each, I believe.
Yeah. The fighting pass, the fact that, they changed it so that now you have to buy the premium, rewards to even progress past level 20 to get to level 30. So you
Oh
can
yeah, you
always
did a video on that.
like there's a lot of little things like these that add up, right? It's a
And they're
slippery slope
unnecessary.
sort of thing. Sorry?
They're just completely unnecessary. There's no reason for
they're
it.
just trying to squeeze every last drop of out of this game, but it seems, I agree,
Dude,
unnecessary.
it
And
goes
also,
back.
it just doesn't paint a good light on the company, right?
Yeah,
You can
really.
tell
It's
that
just
a little bit of a corporate greed is coming back.
dude, it's just bad PR, man. It's really bad PR. Like, and it all started with the Ultimate Pass too, with Street Fighter 6. So people are bringing up, what, dude? Like the we're not getting. You don't even get fighter coins for the Ultimate Pass. Like, it's over $100. You get drive tickets instead, and obviously you don't know how valuable drive tickets are until the game comes out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I mean,
it's
another
dude.
one. Going back to the fighter coin thing, if you had bought the fighting pass, which is 250,
Yeah.
so you could buy that with the first increment of fighter coins.
Yeah.
Let's say you don't want to buy the fighter pass because you want to buy a costume. Well, you can't because the costume is more expensive. It's 300.
Yeah.
And if you want to buy, like the costume, you still have to purchase the first increment of fighter coins anyway. And then once you've done that, you can only buy a costume, and then you got a bunch that you cannot even use to buy the fighting pass. It's just shady. It's just bad way to handle
Some
it.
people are like, they're cool with it, Mir, because they're like, oh, I'll just get an extra costume. Like, oh, I got an extra Ryu costume or whatever, But it's just taking away the choice. That's
yeah. What if you don't want to?
Yeah, what if you don't want to?
Rationalize it, but it's not good.
Rationalize it. It's just like, I think it all started with Cross Tekken, dude, because after Ono went over budget with the crazy licensed music and the cutscenes and trailers, and then they put in the gem system, the combination of the gem system, the pre-order bonus gems, the DLC gems, and the characters already on disc. It was just such bad PR for Capcom. That was when Capcom was like pretty much at their lowest point. Right? Umbrella Corps came out for Resident Evil and they tried to go esports. Sorry, I had to throw that in there. It was their darkest moment and they had to break a deal with Sony. And then that's when they introduced the fight money system and you were able to get characters for free. Now, mind you, Capcom went a little overboard. People were getting a little too many things free because they didn't expect everyone to beat the trials and that. I had like over 1 million fight money, bro. But anyways, you were able to get characters for free. And there are even costumes for free. You can get through the extra battles and the fighter. What's the loot boxes called? Fighting Chance or
Fighting Chance? I
yeah,
believe,
Fighting
yes.
Chance, but not. So like now, fast forward to Street Fighter 6. You have so much value on launch. Even the nostalgia costumes were handled well, I believe, Mir, because it was 50 coins.
Yeah,
that's like how much, guys? Like one bone, and or you can grind the world tour and get them for free. And I think that's great, right? Like we got extra costumes right from the get-go. But now with the post-game content, it's weird. It's like Capcom's getting confident. Or another thing, Mira, I think is just like, I don't know if I want to blame the marketing team, but I feel like whoever's calling the shots, whoever's making these decisions, I feel like is just tone deaf. Like I know a lot of people are thinking, oh, this is like Capcom having evil schemes and being predatory and trapping people. I personally just think it's just being, I don't know, incompetent. Like it's just tone deaf.
I don't know. It's difficult to say. I would err on the side of caution and just assume that they've done this on purpose.
Okay.
Because I think it's more likely that I don't think people in the marketing team are that silly.
Okay, like, but
the fact that they're evil is more questionable, of course. But I wanted to say another thing. For Street Fighter 5, just not to put our rose tinted glasses on. For Street Fighter 5, they wanted to have a Zenny system that would have worked much like the fighter coins.
Yes.
In Street Fighter 6.
Yes.
However, they couldn't implement it for whatever reason.
They got hacked and people were getting Zenny for free.
They gave it. Yeah. So like, they probably would have had the same thing, right? Instead of buying directly with, through Steamworks or whatever, like spending exactly the amount of money that you wanted to spend, you probably would have had to buy these increments of coins and we would have ran into the same problem.
I don't think it would have been that extreme because it doesn't change the fact that we have fight money. Fight money still existed even when Zenny did. You still had the option. And Street Fighter 6, you do not have an option. You have to buy There's even the rental tickets the rental tickets max out, bro. You can only have so many and they won't let you get more. Even if you pay for the premium pass. How ridiculous is that? Capcom's afraid you're gonna get the character for too many hours? You know? Like, what is the point of that? And like, I'm sorry, I'm about to go on a rant here, but okay, let's say the marketing team is not incompetent, okay? And like, let's say this is all planned. What the heck was the point of waiting for all these costumes to release simultaneously if there wasn't going to be a bundle in the first place? So just let me put the timeline here. The costumes were first hinted at the beginning of August, right at EVO. And they're like, hey, these costumes are coming soon. They showed us some, concept artwork, right? Of some of the characters. And then after 4 months of actually there was 2 more teases, but there was pretty much no communication on when these were coming out. No one knew. Everyone's wondering why it's taken so long because people are used to these costumes being churned out like Street Fighter V was. And another thing too, guys, I want to bring up is like the RE engine. This engine is specifically made so Capcom can churn content out. That's why we have Avatar stuff like every single month. All right, it's all made for this reason, for speed, for speed and efficiency. Anyways, fast forward to now.
Well,
sorry, I have to finish this rant. Fast forward to now. After they did a damage control post, Mir, and they're like, yo, because there's this stupid thing that happened, Mir. Somebody on Twitter made a joke that it showed Nakayama and Matsumoto, and they're like, hey, the costume 3s aren't actually coming out. We're just showing off the concept if there were costume 3s, like as a stupid joke. And people were so salted they actually believed that post because they actually believed it could be true. And you had all these people super angry on Twitter being like, wow, there was no costume 3s at all. And this actually happened. And then Capcom made a damage control post saying, hey, the costume 3s exist. Don't you think that's silly, Mir? That they actually had to say that they exist on Twitter? Like, what is that?
I am not sure what the idea was behind them releasing them all at the same time. I think they're really putting a lot of effort into these costumes, and you can tell that there's a lot of time that went into trying to make them, like not buggy like they were in Street Fighter 5. There's barely any clipping.
Yeah.
I mean, occasionally there's some that do freak out, and I guess that's just the way the engine works, right? Like it's very difficult to avoid. But you can tell that they put a lot of effort into trying to make them the best they can be, and that's why they took so long. But it's like there's a disconnect between the people actually making the costumes and how they want to market them to the players, right? That's basically what you were saying. It's like, okay, well, you could have released a couple of costumes every 2 months, or like every month.
Well, look, man,
instead of having to wait.
This is what I wanted. This is what I want to follow up on. Like, I'm not questioning the quality of the costumes. They are nice. I mean, we just did a tier list on them, talking about how nice they are. But the execution was just bad in every single way. All it did was just piss people off. They went on months showing concept art, right? And why even wait? They didn't even tell us when they're coming out. They didn't have the balls to even tell us how much they were in the trailer. They weren't even confident on that to even explain it, and there was no bundle. So it just doesn't make any sense, because like what they could have done. Let's say this was the situation, right? That the suits wanted. They want all the costumes to come out all at once, or blah blah blah. They could have just had the costumes, like you mentioned, come out 2 or 3 at a time per month, and then people would be less salty because at least something is coming out, something to expect that's not Avatar stuff. And then now fast forward to now when they're all finished, then have the bundle ready to go and charge afterwards. Probably would have made more money that way.
Right. Well, I mean, the thing that I am not suspicious about, but I guess the thing that I'm thinking is that the way these companies treat customer goodwill is like a resource bar in a video game. Okay. It's like you basically spend goodwill to make more money, and then you build it back up over time by doing good deeds. It's like, it honestly feels this way, because it's dude, they do something where like the game is very good and has a lot of good content at the start. and people are, very ecstatic about it. And so they go like, now that people are happy, we get to put in some shady DLC practices.
So they
and
expanded
make
the
more
bar and they
money
blow
off of
their
it.
meter?
And then when people get upset, they go like, oh, well, but we didn't mean it. Look, here's a good
Dude,
free DLC for
That's
you.
so messed up, but it's so true, man. They just blow their bar. I'm like, finally, I got my CA. I'm gonna use it now. Let's just release all these
It
costumes out
honestly
of
feels that
bundle.
way because otherwise I wouldn't understand myself, right? I
Yeah,
think the bundle made a lot of sense, and you didn't even need to make it, like that much less expensive for people to be happy with it,
yeah,
as long as you got a little bit of a deal, right?
yeah.
But the fact that there's not even an option to buy them all, even for full price, you have to buy them individually. That also like got some people, people that were willing to spend that much money in the first place. So it just seems really counterintuitive that the entire marketing decision behind this and the way they publicize these costumes, it felt very well, what's the opposite of organic? I don't know. Just the various development teams felt like they weren't in contact with each other,
Yeah.
right? Oh, not development teams, but like the development team and the marketing team and the people that were behind the trailers and stuff. It's almost as if the people behind the trailers weren't even told like when they were supposed to come out and stuff. They just knew at the very last second and they had to put it together.
Dude, they're at gunpoint, man. The chat's saying manufactured or artificial for what you're trying to say.
I suppose so.
Dude, man. Oh, I need to bring this up just before someone else brings this up. Like, if you do want to buy all the costumes, you do get some sort of discount because if you buy the largest quantity of coins, the biggest bundle, you save $10 per pack, and you need to buy 2 total of the largest pack. So you save like $20, like USD. Just bringing that out there. So it's like 88 bones instead of the 108 for buying every single costume. I need to bring that up, but still, like $88 is ridiculous.
Not that much, huh?
Yeah, a lot of people are like, oh, around 30, $40. I personally think 40 bones would have been acceptable for a bundle, but once again, like waiting for all these to release at once after 5 months just makes no sense at all if you're not gonna have a bundle in the first place. This entire situation, even with the pricing, even with the coin situation, all of this could have been avoided. I think a lot of this could have been avoided if they just released 3 or 4 costumes at a time. I'm not talking about 3 or 4 Chun-Li or Jury costumes. I'm just saying release them in increments. Even that Blanca costume here, don't you think that was super sus? I don't want to get conspiratorial, but the Blanca costume is sus, bro, because in the developers' comments, they're like, hey, I had this idea for this other Blanca costume being a worker, right? But no, I just decided to go with the Blanca Chan costume. Like that don't you find that a little weird? Like it was almost like after that damage control post, they were like, man, we're getting a lot of salt from this. We need to get these out. It just.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like it feels weird because the way someone's saying something like that, right? It's like, oh, we decided to put in a costume for fan service without really trying too hard. I mean, I'm paraphrasing extremely, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It seems like that's the sort of thing that a company would do to put in a bundle where it's like you got 5 things in the bundle that you want to have, and then there's another 5 things that you kind of don't care about, and but you sell it as a bundle, and so people will buy it anyway because they really care about those 5 things that they care about, but they didn't sell it as a bundle. So it's like, what the heck?
know, right? The chat's
it's
like
just very counterintuitive in general. It's just puzzling in the sense that, as we were mentioning before, they're treating goodwill as in this thing that they gotta spend and get back.
It's not consistent. It's not consistent.
Yeah. They have. I mean, the pricing with or not the pricing. Sorry, the pricing would be fine. Is the fighting coin thing that got some people in a tizzy, of course.
Yeah,
and then all the other DLC practices along the way to this, because it's like, imagine this, right? If they did the whole fighting pass thing that I mentioned before, where you have to buy the premium version to get the last levels, blah blah blah. Imagine people got sort of upset about that, and then you release the costume bundle and everyone's happy. That would be a way to quote unquote fix the goodwill, right? But no, now they're doubling down and going even harder on it. So it's like, how long do they want to press on and continue? I don't want to say exploiting the customers, because obviously this is just additional content that you don't have to buy, but still, how long are they willing to go for these more aggressive DLC practices before they gave something back, right? Because I mean, that's what we're expecting, according to my maybe a little bit cynical interpretation of the situation, right? Maybe we will get the famous Shadowloo Island expansion I keep talking about, and that will be the best thing ever since sliced bread, and we'll be so happy we'll just forget about whatever costume bundle is not there. But it seems to me that it's a way of like playing with, it's like manipulative. It's manipulating people basically, and I don't like that. I don't think that the company would benefit from it in the long run.
It's
It
just
seems,
desperate. It's just unnecessarily desperate. It doesn't make any sense. I don't like it, dude.
yeah, it almost feels like the fighting game division has been forced to kind of like stand on its own. It's like they told them, all right, like you got money from all our other games doing very well. Now your game alone has to stand on its own. And since they're spending already so much money on the esports side of things, maybe that's why they're going, for more predatory DLC practices. But as a company, I mean, I don't know how to handle a company that big, of course, but it does seem very counterintuitive to me, and it's a little bit disappointing, I guess, is what we're trying to say.
Right.
At the
Right.
end of the day, we'll still support the game and all, but it sucks that they're not as
Street Fighter is
not
huge.
forthcoming, but
Street Fighter is
more.
huge, man. But like a lot of people bring up that like these games will just get away with things and stuff, but that's not necessarily true. They're not invincible, dude. Like Cross Tekken is a great example of like two gigantic, in my opinion, one of the greatest fighting game rosters of all time, and that game failed. They're not invincible, man. There is a point where you push too far, and there's repercussions of that. There really is. I guess there's Marvel Infinite too, but that's a whole other story on why that game flopped. But that's a huge IP too, man. You can only be pushed too far, really. And
functions can't keep your game alive.
like I said, we don't work for Capcom, so we don't know what's really going down. Who's telling who what, right? I am assuming it's a suits thing, but hopefully, like I said, this winning the fighting game of the year, or maybe it might make things worse. Like, oh, we're really popping up. We need to double down even further, But it might really help to the show and them seeing the results of how much money they're gonna make for these costumes. Because me playing online, I know this is anecdotal, but it feels like every other opponent I play has purchased at least one costume. So it seems to be doing really well regardless, right?
Maybe the higher the rank, the more likely they are to invest into the costume for the character that they're playing, because they're already playing the game a bunch. So it would make sense.
Yeah, it's true. I mean,
we'd have to see what the purchase rate is for lower rank players.
Well, my brother plays in Battle Hub all the time, and I see him playing against people with costumes, and my chat also mentions that they see many players purchase costumes and they purchase it themselves. So a lot of people are, buying one, or I guess technically two, with the way the coins are. Yeah. But it seems to be quite successful, even with the avatar costume stuff. So I kind of want to move along a bit here, Mears, before we, just rant about these costumes. So we talked about the highs, we talked about the lows. Now I want to kind of talk about other things with Street Fighter 6 that maybe didn't do so well. With how ambitious the game is. So I'm just gonna bring up some just some things here that just your quick thoughts. Like, what do you think about stuff like Extreme Battle right now? Because those Extreme Battle cabs are just like completely empty. Every time I go to Battle Hub, there's no one there. It's a ghost city.
Well, I have to say, I'm not that big of a Battle Hub enjoyer. I usually only go there to play. Basically, it's like playing lobbies, but I have to do the fighting pass, so I look for golden cabs. That's my Battle Hub experience. So really, I do not care much about Extreme Battle, and unfortunately, I do not have a bunch of casual friends that would be interested in playing it. So I have to say that I have almost zero experience on it. So the fact that it failed doesn't surprise me, in the sense that in my scenario, I would have no reason to play it,
Capcom put it in because like they saw, hey, look how much these towers are bumping in Mortal Kombat in terms of like fun, different things that change, like a bomb on the screen, like a hot potato, or a bull running across the screen, some type of different elements added to the match. And it just seems like even though there's challenges, dailies and stuff to do for Extreme Battle that pop up, I just see no one even trying to do it. I saw one dude like sitting in the cab like, "Hey, someone play Extreme Battle," and like asking Battle Hub. Everyone just ignored him, and it's kind of remember, even though it's a fighting game, it's still like a different kind of audience with Street Fighter compared to Mortal Kombat, and I just want to directly compare it to Mortal Kombat a lot more, just because Mortal Kombat was raising the bar in terms of offline content for a fighting game for many of their games. So I want to directly compare it. But it seems like one thing that would have really helped Extreme Battle, I think, is adding some kind of team element to it. You know, playing with a friend, like a 2v2 kind of thing, would have made it a lot more enjoyable than a 1v1. I think would have been an easy solution to make people play it again.
Yeah, I was gonna say also because it is that party game mode, and I was mentioning how I would, love it to play with more casual friends. I wonder if most of the Extreme Battle experience that people are getting is just playing offline, right? Like just playing Extreme Battle offline with friends.
It's possible. Yep. Like couch
Because
co-op.
then, like, of course, then they wouldn't be in Battle Hub in the first place, and then no one plays it in the Battle Hub because when they are in Battle Hub, they'd rather play online with other players. So I don't know. It's difficult to say. Like I said, it's not really something that caters to me. So it's hard to comment on it. I feel that it would be very easy to expand upon. Like it's not that sort of mode that has to be balanced, right? Because it's just silly fun.
Yeah.
So I think they could easily add more things in the future. We'll see.
It could be a logistical problem too, because you saw how much Capcom struggled to get those tournaments running, like the online tournaments. And maybe just having like, because remember that means if you play tag or 3v3 even, that means one cab would require, 4-6 players, which would be quite a bit. So maybe it's a logistical thing. Another thing too, the arcade cabs, as awesome as they are and as awesome as the idea it is, once again, you can't play it like online against someone. Like people playing Street Fighter 2 or Alpha or something would be amazing. It'd be insane. Can you imagine if they had tournaments for that too? Like, whoo!
Yeah,
it'd be so cool.
Want to program in different netcodes for like the different games, because obviously you cannot have just the same netcode for everything.
That's true. That's a good point.
It's probably too much of an effort for them. It's just like, oh, here, have some free.
That's Street Fighter 7, bro.
Technically, they are free, quote unquote.
Yeah. I think it's just logistical problems, but it's still, for a start, it's awesome. Even the big screen in the Battle Hub, I always thought they were going to broadcast tournaments on it, and that would have been an amazing incentive for people to hang out in the Battle Hub. To just you see all the seats and stools there, and you're like, or I figured everyone would be sitting down watching Evil together, in the Battle Hub. It would have been an amazing thing, but once again, it might be a logistical problem. Like we're just not there yet. It's a Street Fighter 7 kind of thing,
Yeah,
but I'm sure
it could be that it was something that they just couldn't figure out when the game came out, and it could be added later. But I think it would be very, very low on the list of priorities. Like it's the sort of thing that's fun, but not necessarily important. Kind of like that DJ booth thing, where it's like a novelty. You do it once, and then it's like,
it's definitely
that's
a
cool,
novelty.
but you never do it again.
Yeah. It's not as bad as like when PlayStation Home was introduced. We're like, yo, we're gonna have celebrities around here. Like no one goes to the PlayStation Home. The Battle Hub was still much more amazing than I thought it would be, but it's still not there yet. Like I said, even with the seasons, I guess now with the Christmas season, there is like snow in the middle and it says like Happy Holidays and stuff. But I think they could have went more. I just feel like it's important to get more people into that Battle Hub part, because I think what they did with the Battle Hub is pretty amazing with the open chat. I know a lot of people were like, oh, it's going to be really toxic. But even when I was doing my random select the other night, the chat saw everyone was being super friendly and be like, hey, GGs, add me on your friends list, like actual conversation like that. Like that part is really cool. And so having more things to do in that Battle Hub mirror, even if you don't want to just play matches, playing Extreme Battle and just having a fun time and playing the old school arcade games, I think would just be a bigger opportunity to keep people glued into the game and not just wait for DLC content. You know what I'm saying? Another thing, Mir, I want to talk about is, we haven't had a chance to discuss this, is the commentators. I think it's hard to judge, but I don't feel like the commentators are used. Like I don't think that was as successful as Capcom thought it was. They're not adding commentators. It's kind of being swept under the rug. and even casuals seem to not like it. What do you think about the commentators?
Well, apparently they're very popular in Japan because a lot of Japanese players, even pro players, they always have commentators on. I don't know what that's about, but I mean,
Maybe they
that's
don't
a
know how to
thing.
turn it off.
Uh, but another thing that apparently has happened is that some lines have been added that had already been recorded.
Oh, for new characters?
I don't think it's just for new characters, but like some circumstantial lines they finally were added. Because I saw a post, I think it was by Vicious, that said something like, "Oh, that's where those lines went." It's like they finally added them to the
Mirror, some of the
game.
commentators, like the commentators in the game, when I see them streaming, they don't have commentary.
Well, I mean, imagine hearing yourself again.
They can use the other commentators, they don't have to use themselves. Like, I mean, some narcissist. I'm just saying.
Why do you need someone else to steal your job? You probably just want to commentate
You're just like admitting your commentary is not good enough. Look, man, the whole reason I brought this up, Mir, is so we can discuss the music in Street Fighter 6 and how it got blasted in the crossfire. Dude, that's a whole other podcast. But
yeah, that's my that's my big point. That's like that the music is the way it is because of the commentators.
Yeah.
So if they drop the commentators altogether, that'd be pretty cursed.
They didn't want the theory, Mir's big theory, and at first I rolled my eyes at this, but now I believe Mir. I'm with him on this.
A believer.
I'm a believer now after seeing the rest of the music in Street Fighter 6 or hearing it. Sorry, the commentating is not supposed to be overshadowed by the music of the game because that's the front and foremost, right? The esports side. So the music, you notice, is missing like lyrics and that oomph that we're used to from other Street Fighter games, and it just kind of sucks because Capcom obviously put a lot. I mean, it's not easy recording all those voice lines, especially for future characters being released on all of these guys. And they even had some big names. Mirror, they had that demon sumo dude commentator from Japan. They had celebrities, right? The WWE and
nothing says that they won't add more in the future. It's just that if they are doing that, it will be like the costumes in the sense that it will be like all at the same time, right? It's not gonna be just one commentator in the next 6 months. There's no way that they're gonna do that if they're adding anything.
It ain't happening. Right? And if they do add a commentator, it's gonna cost $20. I'm just telling you, and there'll be no bundle.
But then it's gonna be, I don't know, who do people like to have as a commentator even? Not even sure at this point. There'd have to be some.
I mean, I personally know, but I'm not gonna say any names. The chat.
Oh yeah.
I personally know who would spend 20 bones. Who I would spend 20 bones on. Anyways,
but
yeah, it's I personally think the commentating part of Street Fighter 6 didn't do well, and I don't think it'll be returning in Street Fighter 7 personally. I don't think they'll be adding anyone, but I don't know what's gonna happen in the future. You can say I told you so, Mir. After like we're a year in this game, you know what I'm saying?
It's hard to say just because another consideration on the whole like music side of thing is that obviously even for actual tournaments where the commentators are not turned on because there's real commentators in the background, they still benefit from the fact that the music doesn't have lyrics, for example, right? So there's some things to be said about that, but even then, to me, the commentator feature always felt like it wasn't aimed at the competitive audience. It was a way to make something like your local tournament in with friends or at your local shop more exciting because it's like you can turn on the commentators and make it real esports. The commentators will tell you what's going on while you're actually just mashing buttons and like in the background. That's what it felt like to me. It's like the sort of a couch hype sort of feature. So like I said, I figured that if they add more commentators in the future, yes, they will have some that are I forget what they're called, like the technical commentators, but they're gonna have a bunch
color
of
commentary or whatever. I don't remember what it's called.
Well, no, the other kind.
Oh, the play-by-play ones.
Yeah, play-by-play. I think it is. Yeah. But I feel in the future they will add more color commentators than play-by-play commentators. If I were to guess, I think um, because that's what the future is about, right? I feel like the future is more about trying to build kind of like a little bit of that hype for your couch tournament. We'll see. I mean, I could be horribly wrong, and like you said, you can also tell me I told you so when the commentary feature is completely turned off for the next game.
Sounds good.
Completely removed.
But then, if I'm right, then the music starts picking up. It starts getting good. Ed comes out. We start hearing lyrics again. We're like, yeah, here we go, right? Okay. Sorry for all this doomer talk. I just wanted to talk, like I said, about some of the things that might have not have done so well that Capcom did, since so many things did do well. And I guess let's talk about some of that too. I think the online tournaments mirror have done really well. It took Capcom forever to get those working, but I'm seeing the phase 2 tournaments popping off every other day. I'm seeing the ranked restricted tournaments popping off. Chipotle tournaments are popping off, and the way it works, and players they have to not physically, but digitally go to the cabs and meet each other, meet the opponents that they have to play in a bracket format. I think gives a sense of a rush. I notice a lot of people are like, they get that intense tournament feel. They're meeting some cool players, and I think it's awesome. And they're getting drive tickets for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's also like a decent incentive just to do it for the rewards, right? You get a title, you get some drive tickets.
It's awesome.
In general, it is because it's a constant thing going on, right? They're not too often, but often enough. Then people don't feel like they have this huge tournament that they have to wait for. It's like, oh, I can just get it another time, right? Like I got another tournament, and it gives it's just a good incentive for people to play. I think it's a neat thing to have on top of everything else, right? You wouldn't want it to be your main way of playing like competitively. I think that would make it really clunky. But just having it's like doing an extra challenge for a special reward in another game, right? And yeah, I agree. I think it's a good feature. It didn't work very well at the beginning. I guess, like you said, that was the biggest issue.
No, people had disconnected. It was a mess. But it turned out really good. Another thing I think that went above and beyond what Capcom expected is the avatar battles. I always see a huge hangout of people doing avatar fights 24/7. Even really early in the morning.
A lot of challenges related to avatar battles as well.
Yeah.
So,
but there's a huge community, man. Like a whole other world, okay? That they're not even like playing Street Fighter 6, the actual main game. It's like avatar battle of the game. They're like customizing it. They're making these crazy builds
now. There's some very cheap builds. Like you guys complain about Ken Drive Rust any heavy punch. You haven't seen Avatar battle.
Damn, dude. They're probably still playing Ken.
And you instantly die.
There's infinites and stuff. I mean, that's cool. I
agree.
Dude, you know what I think Capcom should have done? Like, just go crazy with it. Is just have an avatar ranked. Have an avatar ranked, dude. Maybe they can take off the level restriction and normalize the stats, but I'm telling you, man, it doesn't matter how broken it would be. It would be so popular in Mirror. I'm telling you, people would love it. It would be so hilarious.
I think they want to do it because they know how unbalanced it is, right? Because then the complaint would be like, oh, you'd get kind of like the meta characters all the time.
Oh, right? You get a headache?
Get really competitive about that sort of thing.
Capcom, you need to fix this.
Capcom wants to have to balance avatar battles. It would be way too much of an endeavor for them. So
they got to do it, man.
It's nice that they have an incentive for you to play it by, like having to win avatar battles and getting drive tickets and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it is intentionally kept more casual. One thing that they could do if you want to add more incentives to play it is the ability, for example, say that if you defeat someone that has a certain costume, you drop a piece of equipment that they have, that sort of thing. It's like, oh, I want to fight that guy because he has a cool costume, and I want to get a piece.
That'd be crazy. Costume. That'd be exploited really bad too.
I mean, it would be exploited really bad, but I think it would be neat. Maybe a limit of how many you can obtain.
Dude, I'm already seeing people like scheming in the chat. They're like, "Yo, man, tournament server 26 has no players. Let me win, and I'll let you win the next tournament so we can get our phase 2 titles." And stuff like people are scheming for titles, man. Like, man,
I
that'd be
mean that's
crazy.
true on any system that could potentially be abused. There will be people that will try to abuse
And then all of
it.
a sudden,
The
right when
question
before the
becomes
tournament starts,
how.
Mir, the Chipotle champion Vesper Arcade steps in. No, this see my Luke. I mean my Aki. I mean Aki. My bad. What'd you say?
We call that a Freudian slip. Anyway, I was gonna say the thing about the system and how it is implemented is that it's not to the point where it can be abused, which is basically what I was saying, right? Like with adding more features to this and adding more rewards, there's always the potential for stuff to be a little bit too kind of like, how can I put this? Not rewarding, but let's say you could buy characters with drive tickets, right? People
Okay.
would be grinding those tournaments, like trying to rig them in all ways they could to get those drive tickets so they could buy every character for free. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
they have to be really mindful of that sort of thing, and that's probably why they have it set up the way it is.
I see.
But for tournaments and avatar battles and stuff.
So Mir, this entire retrospect thus far, 6 months in to Street Fighter Six, I think overall, like we talked about some of the highs and some of the lows, right, with the costumes and all that. And I think overall the big picture is that I still think Street Fighter Six is doing really well and has a lot of potential, especially
Mm-hmm.
for a fighting game. I think there's a lot of good stuff from this game. I'm still like addicted to it and playing it almost every single day. And I think right now one of the main things that they need to address in terms of the post game content is trying to hammer out more of the big content, like for season 2 having more characters than 4 and more costumes than 1. Like, I really don't like the idea if they're gonna have only 1 costume per year and only 4 characters per year, because they don't even have the Aki and Ed costumes done. Or sorry, not Ed. It's not even out yet. Aki and
Rashid.
right?
Yeah.
That's not coming out to Akuma. So what I'm
I mean,
hoping for, Amir, is a combination of 2 things. One, the sales of the costumes are bumping. Like they see, wow, so many people are buying costumes. This is crazy. We need to churn out more. And 2, the fighting game of the year and seeing that, look, this game's actually really popping off. It's really popular in Japan. People are still playing it. And it's worth to continue and have a big team for season 2 and going forward. Like they got something big here. What do you think?
yeah, I mean, I think in general, I already had the idea that the game was going to get a big expansion when the year mark is finally there,
Yeah.
right? So I believe personally that that idea was already being put in motion behind the scenes, but the fact that the game won an award and is doing well in general is obviously good, like because the additional content that is not already part of the long-term plans, like
Yeah.
this expansion that I'm theorizing about, that
Mhm.
is reliant on like the ongoing performance of the game.
Yeah.
And I guess another thing is maybe they will get more confident with how fast they get to release the bigger DLCs. So in this case, it would be story expansion and characters, right? So ideally, next season we have 6 characters, right? I think everyone would want 6 characters. I mean, or more, but
I'll take what
I
I
think
can
6
get, Mir.
characters.
5 or more. I'll take what I can get.
Right. But like, I think if they notice that the DLCs are doing well, I would hope that that's what they are going to do next, because we're talking about how the DLC characters so far have been relatively unpopular, but once Akuma comes out, I think they'll be selling a lot
Well,
of characters.
like
You know what I mean?
it ties in what we're talking about before, Amir. Like them going above and beyond and being pitching this to the suits are like, look, we need this fighting game to be bigger than ever. We need to add 3 games in one: the World Tour, Battle Hub, Fighting Grounds. But where's that extra money and development time? You know, it needs to be. It needs to be. What's it called? I don't know what the word I'm trying to find. Refunded. Like they need to get their money back somehow, right?
Yeah, they need to put the money back in. That's what you're
Right.
saying, basically.
So how are they going to do that, right? And It might be tied to, like you said, the predatory and aggressive DLC with the avatar costumes and now costumes. And maybe things had to be slowed down. Things like maybe we can't get as many characters out for this first year. Maybe we can't get as many costumes out for this first year. Recoup the losses. Thanks, Mockery. So now they're caught up, hopefully, after Season 1 when Akuma drops. Then maybe they can start focusing and seeing what worked, what sold well, and then they can focus on catching up to what Street Fighter V was like post launch. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. It's all based on where they're shifting their focus on, right? If let's pretend that the what they're working on real hard in this year is this big expansion that I've been theorizing. Then it makes sense that they would only have 4 characters, because then they were just basically putting all their eggs in the year 2 basket, right? And then maybe starting from there, the year after we get more characters because there is no more big expansion planned. Then maybe the year after that we get less characters, but we get an announcement of an expansion, and then again we see how they're organizing their development time, right? So I'm not sure. It's very difficult to predict because this is the first year of Street Fighter 6. We don't have a pattern yet. So until Season 2 drops, it's very hard to say. I just hope for the best, of course, not only because we're covering this game, but because just a fun game. We want the best for it.
I just want to chime in. I don't want to get into a whole other topic here, but I just want things in Season 2 going forward, Mir, to just be a little bit more cohesive. And what I mean is, like, I want a more even distribution of content for people to want to revisit World Tour, because the longer this game goes on, the more stale World Tour is going to be, right? So they need to be more cohesive. I'm having people want to come back to World Tour when a new character comes out, or new missions to do, or have a more incentive to want to do these fighter passes, right? Being able to use the music in matches, or having some colors introduced for main characters and not just avatar stuff, and having more reason to come back to the Battle Hub, whether they're doing seasonal themes or more incentive as well to go play those online tournaments and earn things. Like, I just want all these things to be more cohesive, where it's not just being like, we got the avatar players are eating well. Now we got the main ranked players eating well. I don't want that. I want everyone to eat well. You know what I'm saying? Like, they got to figure out a way.
That's why it all plays into that big expansion theory, because this is not an MMO, right? Like, when you're playing Avatar Battles or you're playing World Tour, you're not part of like a massive community. You're playing, by yourself or with a few friends, right? And this is not the sort of game that you are technically that you want to grind every day, right? For a casual, this is not necessarily what the game is. So giving them a huge incentive to come back, where it's like, okay, every once in a while you get this big expansion, that's probably way more convincing for like a casual player.
Burst content, that's pretty much what they're trying to do right now.
Come back and see, they added all these new costumes over the course of the year. They added all these new things. It's like, I'm kind of missing the fact that I missed some battle passes or fighting passes. This time I will stick around and get the cool stuff in the fighting pass. I believe that's what Capcom's planning, and I mean, I hope I'm right, just because I think.
I hope you're right too, Mir.
It would make the most sense, but we'll see. I'm hopeful, if anything.
Yeah. We'll see what the future holds, Mir, and then we'll do this retrospect again. Probably when maybe around the time Akuma drops, and we'll kind of see how things are going, especially with Season 2. But this was a fun discussion, man. I feel like we covered a lot. Like, we talked a lot about the game. And I am curious on the thoughts of everyone else in my chat and on the YouTube side. If you guys are still playing Street Fighter 6, or are you guys waiting for more content to drop? Like, how goes the grind, basically, is what I want to know. And leave our thoughts in the comments. And we'll do this again sometime, Mir. By the way, Mir, you look really happy in your picture, by the way. I really like your glasses.
I celebrated the fact that I am almost a third of a century old.
Wow, that's amazing, dude. It's great. Get more pictures.
Basically dead.
Hey, don't say that. Come on, man.